Welcome to Green Noise, a podcast series from CapeNature that is bringing nature to life, and we use white noise to try to sleep better, but green noise to make life better.
You're as high as Victoria Falls.
Don't take that out of context about the penguins in ICU.
We basically give penguins medical aid.
Welcome to another episode of Green Noise, which is a CapeNature podcast series bringing nature's stories to life. And Green Noise is about making bold statements, about being all the way up, turned all the way up on nature and sustainability and biodiversity and humans living properly with the planet and everything else on Earth that makes Earth and the planet so rich and wonderful for all of us. I'm really excited for today's episode. Not to say I wasn't excited, I'm not excited for the other ones, but today's episode is about the movies and it's about filming. And I was born and raised in Cape Town, understanding that Cape Town is one of the most fantastic, massive movie sets in the world, and massive movies, big budget films and the rest come to Cape Town to make the magic. They often are shooting pretending that they're somewhere else in the world, but it's happening in Cape Town, where in particular in and around the Cape there is a fantastic film industry and a fantastic film service industry, which means servicing massive productions that are coming in from overseas. And a fundamental part of that story, of that industry, is the gorgeous natural environment that we have here in the Cape, which makes it such a wonderful literal backdrop and natural set for these big film productions. And so today we're going to talk about what the film industry brings to this part of the world, what this world, part of the world in the Cape, gives to the film industry, and how we might better change the relationship between a film industry which has forever and a day been incredibly wasteful and often quite damaging to the sets that it leaves behind once it wraps, and the natural environment here in the Cape. And for that, I'm thrilled to welcome two wonderful people. Firstly, Jackie Tranmere, who works at a company called Permits, which does a bunch of different things, including managing bookings and shoots on CapeNature reserves for the film industry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
And then Zizipho Zikali, who is from Green Set, which is an organization trying to make the film industry greener and just better. Thank you for being here too.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So I'm going to start as a bit of just like a film nerd and a bit of a fan and say, what's the coolest stuff you've worked on, guys? I want to hear the stories. Zizipho, starting with you. Are you allowed to tell us what you're working on at the moment? Tell me about the NDAs.
I can't tell you specifically what is happening, but I can mention the project. So I'm currently working on One Piece season 2, Netflix. I've worked on Warrior, an HBO show. I've worked on Raised by Wolves. Nice. I've worked on, there are so many. I've recently worked on MasterChef season 5 and 6.
Epic.
It smelled amazing.
Were you guys allowed to eat the food?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
No, we can't. It's for the judges and stuff.
Sad. So selfish, all the chefs.
But you can enjoy the aroma.
Yeah. It's like standing outside a KFC eating a white bread roll and just being like, this is kind of like chicken. Jackie, what is the kind of big projects that you've been involved in the past?
We also currently, as Zizipho mentioned, we've got One Piece season 2 going to be filming in the next couple of weeks on one of our CapeNature reserves.
Epic.
It's been a long project to get there, and we're looking forward to being on set to see the final product. Also, Black Sails shot up at Kibum, or Khokama, I can't remember which one, when they were doing. We had The Crown shoot a couple of episodes on Khokama, up on Garden Route, Raised by Wolves, and then sci-fi series, I can't remember which international channel it was on, called Origins, set in space, which my cup of tea was very happy.
Which CapeNature reserve looks like space?
They shot at Coin Point, which is up the side, I think.
Okay.
Can't remember. They used the old lighthouse at the site as part of an old Irish village.
Fascinating.
As well as Hansakorp, which
Okay.
is in Hottentot Holland Nature Reserve for
So
the
cool.
Scottish Highlands. So we really do have the world in our area.
Yeah.
And then we've also just finished filming for BBC Planet Earth season 3 up at Robberg Nature Reserve, where they managed to get footage of a very interesting interaction between sharks and seals, which apparently has never been shot before. So I'm looking forward to that episode getting some accolades.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. I almost want to ask who the most famous people you've met. Can I? Am I allowed to?
I no. I don't think.
Okay, let's get on to what this episode is actually about. I'll stop being a fanboy. Okay, so both of you work in kind of this interesting angle of trying to reform an industry that is objectively very successful in the way that it has been doing things for nearly 100, well, actually over 100 years now. But often in the film industry, the focus is how good can we make this movie? There are no other external factors that matter. I mean, I'm sure that we are all aware of how toxic film sets can be and how awful it can be for crew, but ultimately it doesn't matter because, or it should matter, but it doesn't matter because it's how good is the film that we can make. And similarly, I think about how there are many points of a set or a shoot which can cause a lot of waste. Or can consume a lot of power, or can be quite invasive and damaging when you're thinking about a reserve like a CapeNature reserve. Do they like you guys? Do they think, oh, here we go, here are the people trying to make us be better for the planet?
Okay. Well, initially we weren't liked, because, as you just previously said, the film industry has existed for years, and you get people who are saying, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is how it works, you know. But over time, we have had people who are adapting to the new way of doing things, and it's gotten better. I have a few friends now.
So what are the most wasteful parts of a film set, a normal classic film set?
So the most wasteful part of like a film set, besides like the food and the catering and whatever, it's the actual construction of sets.
Okay.
We found that makes up most of our waste streams, because we mainly used a lot of timber, a lot of polyurethane, polystyrene, so there's a lot of like by waste, like sawdust, you know, like, so it comes in like skips and like big sugar bags.
Wow.
And that recycling those waste streams has been an absolute game changer for us when it comes to like diverting our waste from landfill.
That's super interesting. So firstly, before times, all of this waste was going straight into a hole in the ground and just left after every single film set. There was no repurposing, no reuse.
Unfortunately, and we found that you'd be so surprised how much of that waste is like, people are like, thank you so much, we really need this. Sure. And it was all just been chucked on a skip because no one wants to deal with it, because I mean, donations can be time consuming and you need to vet the organizations and all that, and no one wanted to deal with that, and it was all just sent away. So yeah, we're seeing a difference. We really are.
So when it comes to film sets, you're talking about like timber and polyurethane amongst other materials. What kind of organizations are thrilled when, say, a One Piece style show, I'm not saying One Piece is terrible for the environment, a One Piece style show wraps? What kind of organizations are going, oh, can't you give us whatever's left?
So we work a lot with an organization called The Ark, and they mainly are a home for recovering people who were dealing with like drug abuse and all that, and they give them skills for them to be reintroduced into society, and they have this program where they are teaching them like carpentry skills and all that. So from that waste, we're able to like make cupboards, make, you know, like whatever project that they're doing, and it's a skill as well that is acquired by those guys, and they are able to practice that in the real world and make money, which has been our biggest thing. I mean, we take our fabric offcuts to St. Anne's Homes. They also love it because they do pillows, they do bags with them. So yeah, a lot of the organizations vary, and we try and target less commercialized organizations who really need the resources. Yeah.
Epic. Okay. And in terms of power, because I know keeping lights on and cameras on, even today we're praying that ESCOM is nice to us. Like film sets are extremely energy consuming. Are you guys trying to make them all go solar, or at the very least less petrol and diesel and coal?
Yes. So a lot of studios like your Netflix and your HBO have sustainability policies.
Oh, interesting.
And if the scope 1 and scope 2 are like the highest contributors to our carbon footprint within the film industry. So scope 1 is fuel, and scope 2 is electricity.
I see.
And so they are trying by all means introducing new technologies even for us to lower those carbon footprints. So on one piece, we're using a solar powered 150 kVA generator.
Sure.
Battery storage unit, and it powers the whole of base camp. So all those trailers, I think I counted about 26 trailers in a tent, and that is all off grid, and that is not powered by like diesel, so it's clean energy, and as much as we're not using it for set because it's not enough, but it's a step in the right direction, and we're seeing more interest in that within the film industry.
Amazing. That is fascinating. It's such important work. And Jackie, how like with you having a very particular challenge of trying to I guess help film companies with projects design the way that they're going to shoot in CapeNature reserves and other places to ensure that they don't cause damage to the site itself. What goes into all of that?
A lot of consultation with the reserve managers. Luckily, the CapeNature reserve managers are open to having a shoot on the locations, and they are willing to work with a film company to get the shot that the director has in mind. Sometimes it takes a lot of negotiation, and saying, okay, you can't blow up a car on this road, but you can look at doing it on this road.
I see.
But obviously certain safety measures need to be put in place to make sure that everything goes to plan. But as I said, we're lucky to have reserve managers that are open to having film shoots on their reserves, as long as the production companies play by the rules that we ultimately have to lay out, because at the end of the day, they are in a nature reserve, and they need to respect the guidelines that we give them.
And I imagine sometimes it's difficult because you guys have arranged this great agreement and everyone's happy, and then the director arrives and sees a mountain that they hadn't seen on the rushes and goes, we're going to do that now. And you're like, no, you're not.
The one thing that I find is that, a lot of the international guys they'll Google and they'll go on and they'll see this beautiful mountain vista, and they want to shoot there. And I'm like, okay, but you're going to have to hike for 6 hours to get there.
Oh, heck.
And because there's no vehicle access, because that's been a photograph or a little camera video taken by a hiker that's gone out for the day and posted on the Instagram account.
And then do they say, can we get a helicopter or something like that?
Yes, and then I have to break their hearts to say, sorry.
Wow, that's that. Okay, and what else? Okay, so people want to blow cars in nature reserves.
Yes.
People want certain backdrops of nature reserves. But how does it work in terms of, someone wants to shoot on an area that has gotten like proper natural environment in it. It's not a road or something like that. Can they just go and like agree an area where if they behave in this way, they won't do that much damage to the plant life that is there or the wildlife that is there? Or are there no-go zones because it's like, this is kind of where the bookies run a lot? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. We try to keep shoots into areas that are easily accessible.
Sure.
so to lower the footprint of potential damage.
Sure.
Because as much as we try to limit damage to sites, invariably there might be something that could go wrong.
Okay.
So we try to use areas that are accessible already to the general public. And there are some areas that aren't open to the public that we do use for shoots.
Sure.
But we need to make sure that there is road access, and obviously that what the person is wanting to film is actually suitable for the location.
Right, I understand. How do people go about trying to get a permit to shoot in a CapeNature reserve?
So they do need to fill out an application form, which is available on the CapeNature website under the filming and photography page, or they could get in contact with me and then I send them the application form. It's quite a detailed form to fill out because we need to know obviously how many people are going to be there, vehicles, what sort of power source they're going to be using, actually what the storyboard is,
right,
what they're wanting to do.
So do you ever sometimes go like, hey, that's not a good script line? Like between you and me, that joke is lame.
I'll sign an NDA for that. But yes, and then I'll go through the application form and see if they've sent me all the information that I know that the reserve manager is going to want.
Okay.
And then sometimes there'll be something in the application form and because I've worked with CapeNature for 15 years, I think, I know my reserve managers pretty well and what they will and won't allow. Or if there's any additional information that they're going to want. So I get all that information, I send it through to the reserve manager, they'll have a look at it and they'll come back to me like, Jax, happy with this, this is the only concerns that I might have, these are the things that need to go into the permit. Then I go back to the production company and say, cool, you've been approved, these are the conditions, and then I invoice them because shooting is not sometimes free.
Yes.
We've got 3 tiers of location fees based on the size of the teams, low, medium and high.
Do you have discounts for local productions?
We need to apply for that.
Okay.
And once we receive payment, I organize an ECO, which is an environmental control officer, to make sure that the production team adhere to the permit conditions.
Yes, for sure.
I send them the permit and then they shoot.
Amazing. And this is a question I'm interested in both of you, like hearing from both of you about, but I'll start with Zizipo. I'm sure, technology has developed so rapidly in the last 10 to 20 years and is going so fast. I mean, even the fact that we are shooting this podcast with all this equipment, 20 years ago, we would have needed a film studio to send an extraordinary amount of huge hardware to pull it off. And I'm wondering whether newer technologies are able to problem solve and also pull off things that are needed that used to be way more expensive. Like I'm thinking about phenomenal drone shots that you can do on a drone that you used to have to send up a helicopter to do. Is it allowing the film industry to be less wasteful and more green?
Definitely it is, but it is also two-sided. So because a lot of elements are replaced by VFX, visual effects, we tend to see a lot of resistance because that means that we're cutting down on crew.
Right.
Meaning that it could mean that a lot of people are losing their jobs. But in terms of like technology within the film industry, it's been absolutely amazing. I mean, we use VFX shots as backdrops instead of going to like an actual area, and also we take beautiful aerial shots with like your drones, but those need to be definitely regulated because people can use them unethically, and which is why CapeNature has regulations, and there's just so much in place to regulate those and to make sure that they are really guarded.
It's super important because like Uber Eats in some parts of the world is now trying to like deliver like a package to like your window of your apartment block and you're on the top floor.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It's insane. So it really has changed. I mean, we have the solar energy that is being put in. I mean, with one piece also being solar powered, that's also like the advances of technology. And for us, it's more positives really than negatives. And it can only go up from here. We can't resist the change.
Yeah, and we have to kind of follow it. I wonder if in your work you are waiting for, like, are there areas of the world where film sets are greener than others because the practices, the innovations, the technologies, maybe even the budgets available allow them to be much less wasteful or much more energy efficient, and you're kind of waiting for that those technologies or innovations to get here? Like, are there other areas of the world where they can do phenomenal things with going green on sets?
Definitely. So the Netflix team, I always find this funny, is based in Los Angeles. And what they had, so they gave us the policy, their sustainability policy, and they're like, implement this. And because they are in a different part of the world, they were like, well, we need your generators to use biodiesel. We need, because they think it's like a norm.
Yes.
And we need you to be tied to the grid.
Oh my
and
word.
because they don't know that our grid is powered by coal, so it's for us, if you're using electricity, you're not being really sustainable because it's coal powered. And so we really had to educate them in that. So to get to your point, it's really different. I mean, in Europe and in those other places, they have electric vehicles in abundance.
Sure.
So your normal buyer at a film set is driving an EV. And here, what
Wild.
we've managed to get, the best you can get is like a hybrid vehicle, because we have a few Toyota hybrid vehicles available. But that's just, it's different everywhere. And because South Africa is still developing and we're not yet there, there are technologies that we see from other countries, and we think, we would love to have that.
Absolutely. Jackie, what are some of the biggest challenges that the film industry is facing when shooting on location on nature reserves at the moment? Particularly, all these new technologies, you could probably, if you had a awesome enough UAV or drone, you could get that shot that would otherwise have required a 6-hour hike. But to shoot on location must have really tricky parts to it, like on nature reserves.
Yeah. I mean, because you're on a nature reserve, so there is no infrastructure apart from the reserve office.
You may not even have signal on your phone.
No, exactly. So when teams are shooting up in the mountains, you're not going to have cell reception unless you find that sweet spot between the entrance and your set. So you literally have to bring everything in, your power, your toilets, everything.
Walkie-talkies
with repeaters, because otherwise sometimes, if you're if you're in the mountains, you might, even the walkie-talkies might not work.
Sure. What are some of the most popular locations in Cape Nature reserves that people like to shoot film in?
We've got 5 hours for that. So there's a site here in Kogelberg Nature Reserve off on the N2 side called Rockview Dam Road. We use that often for car commercials because it's a private road, so they don't have to get traffic officers to help with stop and goes.
Interesting.
Just around the corner here, we've also got Buffelstal, which we also use for car commercials. I keep mentioning Telkom Towers, which is in Lemmetberg on De Kloof Pass. We've shot many feature films and TV series because the mountains can work for Swiss Alps.
Yes.
To Mount Everest, they just need to CG in the snow in the mountains in the background, and you're right there.
That's
we've also done
amazing.
quite a bit of stuff up in the Cedarburg at Stassel Caves, because it gives you the almost like the Grand Canyon style rocks, and Trakey's Kraal also up in the Cedarburg gives you that kind of vibe. And then Beautiful, we've just did last year at Walker Bay, which is around the corner. We did a local series. I don't think that it's been finished editing and come out yet, where they used the beach. They're using the beaches for a wedding scene. so
It's so much.
there's so much.
4.5 more hours to go. How do and I guess this relates to what we were talking about with drones. How does CapeNature regulate drone usage and use drones in other ways? Because I know that drones are super useful for all kinds of things now.
As a person, private guest to a reserve, you can't fly a drone. However, CapeNature will allow as long as the drone it's from a registered drone operator and the drones are licensed, and the site is actually suitable for a drone, they will allow you to film with a drone.
Epic.
As well, they're using it quite a lot for research as well. I think it all started when one of my reserve managers was like, oh, this is nice. Rather than having a helicopter flying around
Looking for fires.
looking for stuff, we can use the drone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm particularly thrilled to have the two of you because, like many industries, but I think more still than many industries, the film industry is dominated by men all around the world. And yet it is really, really wonderful to have the two of you sitting here as like seasoned, top-level experienced champions in your parts of the industry as women. I'm interested to hear your guys' perspective on how more diversity, and not even diversity, I don't like that word as much as I like just openness and inclusivity, and everybody can come and work and do their work, how that's changing the film industry and making it better.
It's definitely it has changed a lot. We're seeing more women in power, more women being directors, more women being producers, and more women being sustainability supervisors like myself. So it is moving towards towards being very inclusive. And what I like about women who are given these opportunities to be in power is that they show up, like they prove a point. And once you put them in there, they are like cemented in.
Right.
And it has been such a beautiful thing to watch. Yeah.
It feels so rewarding. And are you seeing more and more projects created by, led by, instigated by women also?
Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah. We also look at it as a story from a more emotional, empathic side. And the approach that they give to a project is so much different. But then also because I deal with locations, I work a lot with the unit and locations and location scouts. And there are a lot of women that work on that side.
Sure.
In
production.
No, not really production.
Sorry, pre-production. Yes.
And some of when I see some of the ladies working in unit and location side on set, you think, oh no, you can't pick that up. That weighs 50 kilos.
I see.
And it's just like takes two guys to carry it. And they're just like, no, come on, let's just because they get things done, and there's no time for ego.
Yeah.
It's all about inclusivity and helping each other out on set, which I find amazing.
It's about like irrespective of your body or your mind, can you do the job really well? Yes.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do the job really, really well.
Exactly.
What do you dream would come and shoot here, Jackie? Just personally, if you want to be like, what do I want to see? Do I want to meet George Clooney in Roshapan or something like that? What would be your dream? Maybe either a show that you love or a book that you've read that you'd love to see a movie, or just an actor you want to meet.
They have shot here before.
Oh, yeah?
They shot some season 3 when they had it's Doctor Who. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. They shot with the 13th Doctor, female Doctor. They came out and shot some stuff here.
Who was the actress?
The name escapes me. I will remember it just now.
Fine.
And they did shoot some stuff in Cape Town.
Epic.
Unfortunately, nothing on CapeNature.
Okay.
But I want them to come back and shoot on CapeNature.
Which doctor would you choose? David Tennant? No.
You know me. David Tennant or Peter Capaldi, actually.
Yeah, they were both
They
great.
were my favorite. Matt Smith is number 3.
Yeah, he's a cutie. And Zipo, what would you love to work on and see worked on here?
I'm a science nerd
Oh,
type
good.
of, so I'd more like sci-fis, more sci-fis, and like more out of the box, and like anime, because I'm a fan of like those, and just for those opportunities to also be given to like our local writers and like local directors, and because I feel like they have so much to offer, and we always have these international films coming in, which is amazing, but it would be great to see a sci-fi or like an anime from a mind of a South African.
Totally.
Yeah, like that view.
I
That
got
would be
a
so cool.
tiny taste of that, but not for long because it was an American production of District 9. But immediately you're like, oh, look at all these things that we can figure out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wonder because speaking to the both of you again, it reminds me that we've got more than enough talent and skills in this country. Maybe it's just funding that is the big problem that stops our directors from getting the opportunities that others overseas do, because then they choose to come here and work with people like you guys and make world-class productions. I don't know. We just need to get way more money into the South African film industry on South African projects, I guess.
Definitely.
Local budgets are horrendous.
I
They
know.
don't have the international budgets, and I really wish they did.
Yeah.
Because then they can achieve so much more.
No, you're absolutely
Although
right.
what they do get on the budget is still very commendable. Commendable, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's an extremely good deal for foreigners to come in and work in South Africa. And I think, isn't that part of the reason too? So like staggeringly beautiful climate and environment for shoots and sets, excellently skilled people to employ, but also just the exchange rate is a gorgeous thing.
I mean, I think it's more that the rand, and also what I've noticed is that when they come into the country, a lot of them use our crew because our crew is as compatible. Like they can get the job done. They don't need to have anyone externally to shoot, to be sound, to be lighting, because we can do it here in South Africa. Yeah.
Absolutely, and give them a great time in one of the tourist capitals of the world. Jackie and Zizipo, thank you so much for your time, and thank you to you for listening to and maybe watching this film industry and the environment special of Green Noise.